Yeah, how I've been doing this, kind of just rolling with it. So, if you don't mind giving yourself a quick little introduction, of course, thank you for your time and thank you for doing this. I know you've been going through obviously quite a bit, and a lot of people wanting to hear your side of things. But if you don't mind giving a quick little introduction.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Michael Ross, also known as Ninjaboogie. I'm 30 years old. I got into Dota at the age of like 11. Started playing professionally around like 15, 16. Playing in the local scene, and eventually I joined Mineski and just slowly progressed from there. And from Dota, I transitioned into Han, Heroes of New Earth, and when Dota 2 came out with that big 1 million prize pool, I was like, okay, it's time to go back to Dota. So I went back to Dota 1, and then here I am.
Heck yeah! So Ninja Boogie, in case y'all didn't know it, where are you at right now, man?
So I'm in my hometown, Cebu, Cebu, Philippines. Yeah, so I was born and raised here. So
So what eventually got you into gaming? Being born and raised in the Philippines, what is that like? How did you come across gaming?
so like one weekend, my dad just took me to an internet cafe because when I was a kid, I was kind of like a book nerd, and I guess he just wanted me out of the house to be a kid. Uh, But also at the same time, my family was pretty dysfunctional, and I kind of found like peace in gaming. So, once I started playing quite often, all like I realized that, all the problems in the world kind of disappeared when you're in that game. So just grew from there. And I
And
realized I had like an innate talent with, certain game.
and was Dota your first game, or what leads up into playing Dota? Like, what other games did you play? Obviously, you went to internet cafes maybe every once in a while. So, what
Mm.
led into Dota?
So it started with just Counter-Strike, and then eventually, like my classmates and I forget who found Dota, but it was like my batch, and there's like an upper batch, and we ended up like after school always going to this internet cafe, and someone found out about Dota, and we just started playing, and eventually I got too good that they didn't want to play with me anymore, so we just ended up transferring to another internet cafe, and I was fortunate enough that the best player in Cebu was playing there, and he kind of like took me under his wing, and uh, started like improving faster from there.
So, you discovered Dota at the age of.
Like around 11, 12. Like
Okay, because I was talking to some pros earlier, and some Rocket League pros who they they were 8 years old when the game came out, and they started when they were 8. They're now 15, and they're being signed to Rocket League pro rosters. 11 is still obviously a super young start. Like, you've been playing a
yeah,
game for that long. Not many
uh,
people can. Like, you've been playing a game for almost 2 decades. How crazy is that?
yeah. I joke around. Like I think a lot of the pros who are still in the scene playing, like we can say we have a PhD in this game.
Like, you are a Dota expert. Like, if you're not an expert by now, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure, for sure. Like we all started gaming at such a young age, and I even know other pro players from like Manila. Like they started like at like 7, 8. Yeah, same like that Rocket League guy. So it's been an interesting journey, at the very least.
What's the gaming culture like in the Philippines? Is it taboo? Is it popular? What's it like?
It I think it was never taboo, but it wasn't also that popular. It was more just like a pastime. Um, and then eventually it kind of transitioned where if you think you're good enough, every now and then you'll have like these small tournaments, but it mostly survived around betting against each other. And and since I'm like I don't really look like your typical Filipino, I'm a very white guy, and they would like put me my team would put me in the internet cafe, and they would use me as bait, and they're like, oh, it's a white guy, this is easy money. And so they would like up the bet, and then when my teammates come in, they're like, oh, we're fucked.
So pretty much like you're almost like hustling gaming
Yeah,
cafes
yeah,
in the Philippines. That they're using you as
yeah.
bait to hustle.
Yeah, it came to the point where like when my team was the best in Cebu, like no one really wanted to play tournaments if we were a part of it, and that kind of like it sucked because like competition is always good, but I don't know, like something about they if they know that their chances of winning is very little, they don't want to compete. So luckily, by the time I was able to like start competing in Manila, and then I got my ass kicked a lot there, but it like motivated me to like, okay, there are bigger fishes out there that I want to beat.
Yes, I mean, what's that like? Obviously, you playing the game for so long, you become the best in your hometown or like your home region, and then all of a sudden you get away from that and you realize, yo, there's talent like this all across the world. Is that like a crazy moment to realize?
Yeah, no, it's crazy, and it's also like at the same time like very tiring. But since I was like so dedicated and like wanting to be the best, it just pushed me and wanted to keep competing because it's like now I'm like I had a new target to go for. Because before like I could just win in Cebu very easily, but then when I started competing against the Manila teams, I was just like, okay, I gotta think a little bit, like change my approach. Um, because I think I remember the first time I competed over there, everyone was kind of shocked with how well I played, and then they decided to just try lane against me, and this was the first time I was like, "Whoa, you can do this in the game!" So yeah, it just kind of like opened up my mind and just reassured that I was kind of like in the right path.
What you hear a lot of discussions out there when it comes to rising in the Dota space, and every esport has its difficulties, and it seems like the lower tiers of Dota also is it's not easy, right?
Hmm.
It's never easy being a pro, reaching where you've made it, and beyond that as well. What was it like rising through the ranks of Dota? What were the struggles? What were the good times? Like, what has it been like competing? At the very very low stages, and then making it to where you were. What was that grind and rise like?
It was very tiring with not much like reward. And I think during the Dota 1 days, the biggest tournament that I was able to compete in, there's this tournament that was held in Malaysia called SMM. It was kind of like the TI at the time, but it's like the prize pool was just $50,000. But for Dota 1, that was more than like that was the biggest ever. Uh, but it was only until like I started competing in Hon where it was more online based. So you can like compete, like I played against like No Tail and everyone from like Fnatic, where I could actually like see that I'm not delusional with my with what I'm thinking, that I am capable. Um, but yeah, the prize pool didn't really fix itself until like Dota 2 came out. So you're lucky if you had salary or whatnot.
And so, if you don't mind me asking, like, how are you hanging around? Like, how are you hanging on and competing? A lot of pros simply can't. Almost 2 decades. How are you able to stick around and stay playing the game you love?
It because of my mom. She has supported me for a long time. And funny enough, like I was about to call it quits around I think like the 2013-ish era because it's like I felt like I've tried this for so long. I'm not like financially stable yet. I'm just being a burden. But I got a good break in terms of like financial, and I gave like half of it to my mom. Like thank you for all the years of support. Like, and there is a future here. So like they were just concerned that of of their kid.
And if you don't mind me asking, what was that family situation like? You said dysfunctional, but it sounds like you had her support the whole way through.
Yeah, it was just like a lot of arguing. My dad was an alcoholic, and it was just not a safe space at home when he was around at times. Um, yeah, and it was just chaos pretty much.
But it sounds like she was supporting you, and was
Mm.
that always the case? Did it take some convincing for you to be like, hey, like I want to be a gamer for a couple decades, like.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I guess like one thing that helped me was like I was, I guess, her favorite and among the kids. But when she kind of found out that during the evening when I was still in high school, like I was sneaking out just to play like 2 to 3 more games of Dota, and she caught me multiple times, and I guess she knew that she couldn't change my mind because I'm kind of stubborn in that way. She was just like, okay, here's the key to the house. Just graduate and don't die. So yeah, she was just she always had my back, even though she was reluctant at times. Um, but I was very
So
thankful for her support.
when it comes to growing up too, like school, did you balance school? Did you still go to school whilst also playing?
Well, I was lucky enough that it wasn't like it wasn't like a full-time thing yet. It was just like this is what I want to do, and I want to get there fast. But I was like, I think in my senior year, so it didn't really affect me too much in the earlier years. So yeah, no, but I did horribly in terms of academics because the last 2 years is supposed to be like preparation for IB because I went to a international school, and instead of studying, I was playing Dota. So in
So
a way, I guess I did study because this ended up being my
just
career.
just studied a game instead of schoolwork. What
Yeah.
your friends? Did they know about your career path? Did they know about your addiction to Dota and you playing all the time? What was that like?
Yeah, they definitely did, and they were also gamers in their own extent, but they're more casual. They're noobs. Uh, but yeah, like after a while, like when they knew they couldn't win against me anymore. They did support me, and that they just wanted to see the best for me.
Yeah, I gotta ask. I noticed the hair too.
Yes.
Loving the
Uh,
loving the color. What's the reasoning behind the hair color?
So when I was in Malaysia, I never dyed my hair because it just like, oh, it kills your hair or whatnot. I was just like, I'm not getting any younger. Live life a little bit. So I told my sister, I'm planning to color my hair, and then she gave me a couple colors to pick from, and then I saw this among the list, and I was just like, yes, I like.
Heck yeah. You already gave a killer story with the hustling and the internet cafes. Like that's incredible. But some people have been telling me some pretty crazy gaming stories of their past. Can you remember like any crazy like great moments or just crazy moments in general growing up? Like you've been playing for such a long time. I'm sure you got
Mm.
some incredible stuff.
Yeah. Let me think about it. So there's this one time in Cebu, still Dota 1 days, where I told you like they're kind of afraid of like when we're in the team, when we're in the tournament. Uh, so this one tournament had like around $500 cash prize, but only winner takes all. And I literally heard one of uh the captains go up to the organizers and say, "Is there cash prize for second place?" Because they already knew that they couldn't beat us. So I was just like, damn, like you think so low of yourself, dude. Like,
Like they should have walked up to you guys. They'd be like, "Hey, are you guys down to split?" Like if we
yeah, and then like another would be is like when after I transitioned from Han, there was this player named Heinrich that was like an up and coming player from Cebu, and like he was really eager, and like everyone's like saying, "Oh, you should challenge Mike," and I was like, I'm not really like a one-on-one type, and mid was never really my role. I was carry back then, but you know, I eventually reluctantly took the challenge, but I destroyed him. And then he was like, one more time, one more time. I was like, I don't have anything to prove, dude. Like, I know I'm the best in Cebu. I don't care.
So have you
But
labeled
yeah,
yourself the best in Cebu?
maybe I mean, I guess people could just called me that. And in terms of achievement and what I've accomplished in the international scene, I would say I am. But there are people who are coming around, and I wish them all the best, man.
Yeah. Who do you look up to in the space? I've been asking a lot of pros, like who their inspiration was, if it's other pro players, if it's other people growing up, who they like look up to in the space itself as of other pros. Was there someone like
uh,
you aspired to be or surpass?
well, I think it would be Mushi, because I met him also at the young age, like when I was 16, in the tournament in Malaysia. That was the first time I met him, and he was really good. But I was lucky enough to be one of his teammates, and at first, I nearly wanted out because, like, it was just something about his aura. Like he he just wanted perfection, and I couldn't provide it at that time. But we talked about it, and he is one of the reasons why I improved it very rapidly under his wing. Yeah. So if I didn't like come across being teammates with him or being under him as a coach, like I would be a lot more like noob. He
I-
opened up my eyes to like before I met him, I didn't even think about all these other things. Like I thought, oh, you just have gank, fight, kill, easy game. But he taught me like the mechanical and like tactical aspects of it.
so when it came time to signing with your first team, do you recall that experience of like when you first transitioned from being, oh, this is like a hobby, a side thing, to this could potentially be a job?
Uh,
What team was that? What was that like?
so Mineski actually recruited me at the age of 13, but I was still in school. But just like 6 months before I was graduating from high school, they told me that they're gonna do like this whole recruitment thing, and they kind of gave me the inside scoop on what's gonna be going on there. I worked hard, but obviously I passed the qualifiers by myself. And right after high school, I flew to Manila and I was under their wing. I wasn't being paid much, but like this was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, ever since that, like we also had like a very strict boot camp and everything, like because we were preparing for SMM. That was like I said, like the TI of that time. But yeah, it was just like like once I joined Mineski, then I was just like, yes, this is what wanted to do. Like because I just love competing. Because before I got into gaming, I really enjoyed playing varsity for my high school.
Oh, nice, nice. So, when it came time to transition from team to team,
Mm.
what's your career of Mineski to who to who? What has that been like as well? What's that process been like?
Oh, definitely a lot of jumping around. So I think in Dota 1, it was kind of just Mineski, and then uh, I left the scene because I decided to pick my girlfriend at the time. So, and then by the time I was ready to play again, I didn't want to play Dota because it would remind me of her. So that's when, luckily for me, Han came around. And then I found a bunch of also Pinoy players who were, uh, they were in the Dota scene a little bit before I started playing. And we were a team called Never Back Down that eventually got picked up by Dustbin, and then I was with them for like 1 to 2 years, and then went into Dota, and then that's when I started like having a lot of different teams because usually in Dota after every year you kind of do like a shuffle.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, just bouncing around until I found success with under Mineski, which is the current SMG management.
And so, when it comes to this transition into Team SMG, how did that opportunity come around? What initially was that experience like?
Um, well, I guess I was always a player that they knew that they can approach. If ever they needed uh that position. I have nothing but respect for them at that time. Uh, you know, so they actually approached me after around 2021, I would say, like December 2021. They're forming a team with Mushi, Afu. I forget the other players, but I was already kind of going through a mental rut because this is already like my dad died, and it was affecting my performance. So I decided, uh, I was with them for like a month and a half. I decided to step down because I just felt like I was being a burden to the team. And told them they didn't even have to pay me salary because I wouldn't pay myself because I was really disappointed in my performance. And then a year later, they approached me again because I posted that I'm ready to get back in the scene, and yeah, things just started moving from there.
And obviously what we're here is, to talk a little bit about a situation that, is extremely unfortunate. Obviously, can't even begin to imagine what you've been going through, and something that a lot of people have been talking about as of late. You yourself have spoken up as to recently around the situation with Team SMG, and um, a situation that took off after you posted publicly about being removed from their roster during a time where you were visiting your mother. And if there's anything you don't want to talk to, feel you don't have to. But if you don't mind walking me through that situation, step by step. I know you've recently kind of expanded on exactly what happened, just so people get a better grasp of exactly what went down.
Okay. Yeah. So they got in touch with me around the beginning of this year, sometime around January, where they told me they were going to replace their position 5, which was Roger at the time. And then we did some tryouts. They were pretty happy with me, and obviously I was very upfront with everything in my situation, and they assured me that like we have the right staff to help you out and whatnot. And then once I fully signed, I was getting in touch with the psychologist on a day-to-day basis. She's just trying to help me build better habits. You know, just sorry, I'm just looking at my dog. And but then when I joined, I didn't have my passport ready because it expired also around January 2022, and I just didn't want to allocate what funds I had at that time for a passport because I didn't get picked up from a team. Um, so it took around 2 to 3 weeks for that to happen, and I played uh, like 3 DPC games. It's like one per week, and when it was time for me to fly over, I only found out like the night before that there was this big argument that ensued, in Malaysia, um, between the two players I mentioned, Midwan and Nana. And I thought everything was really good and dandy because I'm just like online. But yeah, they were all scrambling to sort that stuff out. Um, and then we decided on just having like a big get together, so everyone can just like up and just speak your mind because it's never good playing when you're keeping something in the heart, and that will affect your trust in game, and yeah, overall it will just it can spiral out of control. And when that night happened, it seemed like the team was in a correct path, and everyone was kind of like uh refreshed and recentered. uh it's funny because like I remember I told Nana, like, because Nana has been a teammate of mine for a long time, and I've experienced great success, with him. I told him like, man, I love you, and I just want to support you, and I'll do everything can to help you win. Um, and then Afu also, like, this was my first time really teaming up with Afu, and he said like, yeah, let's go to TI together. I was like, oh yes, I love this shit. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, our um, performance wasn't as good, and we failed to qualify for the major. But for my personal, um, I felt getting better and better each day. Especially that I was like in a new environment, where away from like uh, all the negativity that was happening in my life. So I improved greatly from a day-to-day basis. Um, and then yeah, at the end of the the season, we had a team meeting, and then everyone spoke up their points and what they wanted to do and what they want for the future. And I was given the opportunity to go back, and I said I'll take it because I'll gladly spend every time I have with my mom, as I knew like the time was running out. But even though I'm here, I was going to work on improving my personal performance because I know it's still a bit lackluster, or like far from what I'm capable of. So I was just trying to balance between the two of them. And while I was here in Cebu during the break, and they were setting up a new boot camp, because They wanted like everyone to kind of be in a bubble. There were three Malaysian players who lived in KL, but after the day is over, they just go home, and then me and the other Filipino player, we would go to our apartment. So it was kind of like they it was good. It's a good idea to be in a bubble if you wanted to like improve together as a team fast. But yeah, like while I was here in the break, I didn't really communicate with them much because like we're all doing our own thing. And I had my flight ticket ready for the 14th. Uh, but uh, as I told in the story, like 2 days before, my mom suffered a stroke. And once I kind of got everything situated out and she was in the hospital already, I messaged my manager Ben, like, hey, obviously informing them of the situation. I'm like, I don't think I can take this flight. Is there a possibility that we can move it a few days later? Because when the doctor told me, the next 4 to 5 days is the most dangerous part of like when someone suffers a stroke. So I just wanted to be there for her just in case anything did happen. And then, every day after, uh, my sports psychologist came up, wanted to talk to me, and I think she just wanted to see how I was doing, and she, I guess, kind of evaluated me in a way. But I did notice like she was kind of surprised how I was all taking it. Sure, like my face was kind of like, but um, you know, I knew this for a long time that it's going to come, because realistically, there's no real way of beating cancer the natural way. But this was what my mom wanted to do, and I'm not gonna tell her what she can and can't do. But I was just trying to support her any way I can. Yeah, so on the 13th, talked to the sports psychologist. On the 14th, Midwan came out and reached out to me. We talked for a bit, and then he told me to give him my decision. And the next day, uh, I gave him my decision, and he said he wanted to talk. And he actually reached out to me during lunch, but I told him, I'm actually on the way to go to the hospital to, move my mom to to our relative's house, so at least she's not alone at home, and she has like 24-hour care. Talked to him. I told him I'll talk to him in the evening, and so as soon as I got that situated out, came home, talked to Midwan, and you know found out that they were going to continue without me. Which kind of like at that time I was really shocked. I was like, huh, like I was not expecting this. But I didn't really want to argue with him at the time. I'm kind of I'm the type of person now that kind of just wants to avoid conflicts. But when I woke up the next day, I just had this sense of like anger and like this was not right. Like how like, and then I tried to find out the reason of the kick. So I reached out to the sports psychologist. Like, was I like, did I get evaluated wrong? Like did I fail it or something? And then she was giving me a bunch of different reasons. Then I'm like, how like I understand like the concern or whatnot, but it's like not even willing to like give me a try. Like just straight out like, nah, man, I'm sorry. Like I was just like, damn, dude, that's fucking brutal. Yeah, I was really, really upset that day. And then when I saw them post that tweet, that and like the tweet was fine, but when they posted that gif of me dancing, I was like, come on, man, like this was not my choice, yo. They made it sound like it was a mutual parting, but it was not.
And this was when they gave you that decision, you were choosing to continue with the team, correct? You were
Yeah,
eventually going to come back and rejoin the team.
because like like this was I, I was like living paycheck to paycheck already at this point, and my mom, my mom actually thought I was leaving, and she was telling me to leave. And the next day, I couldn't tell her because I didn't want to put that on her.
And when it comes to after all this went down, that tweet obviously taking off, a lot of people realizing, this is a crazy situation. for quite some time, your former team had not said a single thing. Still haven't really addressed it publicly. Did they address it with you personally? Did anyone show up to come visit you, or did anyone converse with you and give you a better reason?
Yeah. So after I reached out, and like they were kind of just like not ghosting me, but it's just like they they just seem so heartless. So I kind of blocked a bunch of them on Facebook, and one day, um, Zach, my former manager, kept messaging me like saying Oren was trying to contact me, and me and him grew pretty close during my time in Mineski and SMG. He was a guy that I considered really good friend of mine, um, and he told me that he has been trying to get in contact with me, and this was already after the whole tweet thing. And I told him, like if he really wanted to contact me, I'm pretty sure he can figure out other ways to reach out to me. But when he did, he told me he was here in Cebu, and I was like kind of like taken back. I was like, whoa, I mean, cool. And then he said like he just wanted to come by, pay his respects, and I was just like, okay, like this is a grand gesture. You know I, I appreciate it, and I'll entertain you, and I'll let you do your thing. But I was like talking to my close friends here who are not in the Dota scene. I was just like, I really hope it's just it's a genuine reason, and not um and for the first 2 days it was. And every time, like, it's kind of hard not to talk about, and so when the conversation would start, like, go to that topic, he'll be like, nah, another day, another time. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And then on his third day here, this was just before the burial, you know, um, he did address the situation, um, in which I found out the reason why I was kicked, because of a couple red flags. And that kind of just took me out of it, because that just, like, it made me even sadder, because it wasn't even anything Dota related, or I didn't fight with anyone. I didn't, just, I don't know. I didn't know everything you did was being monitored. Yeah, um, but it sucked. And I didn't react badly or anything. I just listened to the guy, and I decided to take him. I bring him back to his hotel, and as we were exiting, he told me, and if you can think about it, posting a tweet. And I was just like, ooh, so close, bro, so close. Like, yeah, that really. And then I told my sister about this, and then she's like, nah, he's not allowed to go there on the burial. Nah, that's very disrespectful. And yeah, I told him, I appreciate him coming here and paying his respects, but I was truly disappointed. But I guess at the end of the day, business is business, and he was just trying to fix the problems. But I also told him I'm not trying to be like a pity case. I'm willing to work and get myself out of, like, my situation. you know and then he was trying to, like, say, it was handled poorly, and we were gonna give you compensation, and like a lot of things that were I think a lot of people told I was entitled to, uh, but I didn't want to. I just wanted them to support me, not think, automatically assume that, oh, your life is shit right now, you're gonna be playing like shit.
Can you elaborate? So, what the official reason that they gave? You mentioned red flags, and maybe there was
Mm.
other reasons that they gave you, despite the timing. Right, the timing seems pretty coincidental. They gave you some other reasons as to why you were moved. Can you elaborate on that?
So, I mentioned about, like, that get together uh, that the team had during that evening. I lost my wallet, and for the next 2 days after, I was told that they did find a black wallet, so I was just like, yes, it's my wallet. But on the third day, I found out it was my coach's wallet and not mine. And I started being very angry at myself, um, to the point where I was like, I need to just let this anger out. So I go into a room, close the door. It's just me, but I just let one big fuck out, big shout. But it affected my training game on that day. But the reason I was so pissed was, everything I had left was in that wallet. Like all my money, my credit card, driver's license, insurance card, everything. And then so I was just really angry at myself. And when they told me that that was one of the reasons, I was like, what the fuck, dude? I wasn't even angry at anyone. I was just angry at me. I was just letting it out. Like, I even went in my room, closed the door. Like, I mean, sure, I might have shouted really loud that they could hear me, but it's just like, I didn't shout at anyone's face. And then the second reason was they have a staff that, I mean, she looks pretty good. Just talking to her, it's nice to talk to someone new. Figure out, But I wasn't trying to like get her to be my girlfriend. Like my life's a fucking mess right now. Why would I drag anyone in it? But it was just good to like not think about Dota for a while and just have an interaction.
So when it
But
comes to, sorry,
yeah, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. But
no,
yeah,
no.
they thought that that was gonna distract me. Yeah, yeah. As if I'm not serious enough to like try to mm, get back into the top, so I can support my mom.
So when it comes to moving on from this, it seems like you guys didn't leave out on a good note. You separating from this team, was there anyone that you did separate on good terms with at all from the former team?
Well, probably the only other person besides Oren who offered condolences. You guys wouldn't know him. He's just part of the management side of things. And yeah, it was just him and Oren basically who reached out. So aside from that guy, and I still do like Oren, and he is a great guy. It's just shitty what happened. Uh, they're all dead to me. Um, Especially Bimbo, Raging Potato, my Filipino teammate. He literally asked me for help a week prior, and I'm like shocked. Like no one even decided to like stand up. You know, but it is what it is.
What do you think is in the future? I mean, this is it's a crazy situation. A lot of people are looking to see, where you might go next and what comes next for you. Have you had discussions as to what might be next? What are you thinking you want to do in the future?
Well, I'm definitely keen to give it one more go. But I guess in a way, this whole thing has been a blessing in disguise. It showed me the worst in humanity. But also, uh, there's a lot of things that I have to do. Um, with the passing of my parents, involving properties and whatnot. So I'm just trying to get this all situated before I can like dive back in and fully focus and commit myself to a team.
Well, I know that a lot of people have their eyes on you and truly can't imagine what you've gone through, like at all, even begin to. But I know there's a lot of people that are looking to you to have a voice in this kind of thing. And so if there's anything left you have to say, I mean, the floor is obviously yours. And I
Mm.
think a lot of people will have eyes on what your next moves are, no matter what they are. And obviously, you can give that as much time as you want. But not many people can even manage to go through what you've gone through and do so in the manner that you have. It takes a certain level of strength. And so, if you have anything else to say, I mean, I think people are definitely listening.
Yeah. So, I've kind of been forced to do a lot of growing up in during the pandemic, and even until now. Um, and what I've realized, and I'm happy to like change into, is like the person. I've started to develop like a certain kindness since I've experienced so much pain in my life in such a quick time that like I literally do not want to be a reason for someone else's pain. So I guess just my message to everyone is just be kind, you know, have a good heart, be nice to one another.
Heck yeah. Well, I mean, I can't thank you enough for doing this. You know, I'm happy to share your side of things, and we'll see if they ever speak up on their side of things and what comes of that. But again, thank you for all the time to take out of your day to share this kind of story.
No problem, man. I appreciate it.